Hi, and welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Kassi, and I'm your host. So, today we're going to be doing a double crochet dishcloth together. And I just wanted to show you guys the last time you were with me and we learned a pattern. We learned the single crochet stitch. And if you want to learn that, go ahead and look at my videos. I have a beginner's crochet tutorial playlist and you will find this stitch there. You'll also be able to find a video that I go over the slip knot and chaining. So today we are using Lily's Sugar and Cream cotton in the colorway Moon Dance. I'm just going to hold that up so you can see that. Moon Dance. And again, it is 100% cotton there, made in Canada. You can use any cotton yarn for a washcloth or a dishcloth. You can even use whatever yarn you have lying around, but we're going to be making a dishcloth, so we're going to be making a square. And the reason we use cotton is so that it won't melt. Cotton doesn't melt, but acrylic yarn will melt under heat. And so that's why we want to avoid using acrylic yarn for that. Wool might felt if it gets wet. So we have all sorts of different obstacles when we're looking at different kinds of fabric. But the good news is cotton yarn is very, very cheap. So if you want to make dishcloths along with me, I'm going to be making one for every single stitch I teach. And you can either get a little ball like this. They're really, really inexpensive at most craft stores, or you could get a cone because we're going to be making a lot of them. And so you might want to make a lot that just match themselves. So let me go ahead and do that again. What we are going to be using is this is a 4-ply worsted weight. So if you're using a 4-weight cotton or a 4-weight anything, you're going to be wanting to use a J hook with that. I'm only suggesting this J hook because it's a little bit bigger, and it's 6 millimeters for those of you who don't have a letter or a number on it. That's US size 10, 6 millimeter hook. I'm going to be using an aluminum one, and it is a boy hook. There are people who like the boy hooks and people who like the Bates hooks. And this just happened to be the one that I had on the table. I have 2 stitch markers here so that I can teach beginners who are just learning how to crochet the double crochet, how to make sure that their edges line up perfectly every single time. So with that, just wanted to say this time I'll be very, very careful about putting stitch markers for every row. So on the first row, I'll put a stitch marker. That way you can rewind back to when you see 1 or 2 or, etc. for if you want to follow along with me and I'm going too fast or too slow. Another thing you can do is go down to the gear. If you're on a computer screen, you can go down to the gear and click on settings, and you can choose to either speed up the video or slow down the video. Just know that my voice will sound a little bit funny, but I will be going through the motions either slower or faster, so that it can be at your pace, okay? And you can always pause and then play and replay and all of that. It's not going to bother me at all. I'm going to be here. So we are going to start by doing that slip knot. And for those of you who don't know how to make that, I'm going to show you here on the table. We fold over and we make a little loop with the longer side, the side that we're going to work with. We pull another loop through that loop. Okay. And as we're doing that, we pull the shorter string, okay? Now, I don't usually do it that slow. I usually do it in my hands, so I'm going to be showing you how to do it in your hands the way that I do it. So, again, you twist that into a loop. Okay, twist that into a loop, grab that, pull. There we go. Put that loop on your hook. You can practice that if you need to, and just pull tight to get it to the right gauge. I was taught to use this as a gauge, but I believe that if you use the hook right here as a gauge, that's fine too. That's just the way that I was taught, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to single stitch, we're going to chain, we are going to chain 20, okay? Last time we did 25, this time we're gonna do 20, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, Again, when you chain, you just pull that, you hook onto the yarn, you pull it through the loop. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, you take it, it's going to look like little V's when you're done with it. You hold the crochet hook in your dominant hand, you hold the yarn in your non-dominant hand, hold onto your work with your fingers, and use this pointer finger or your third finger if your pointer finger doesn't feel right, to make the yarn more tense. And as you do that, then you are going to be able to pull that through with your dominant hand. Let me show you again. You hook on that, you pull it through, and then you have a chain. And so that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and that is my cat. He is in timeout right now, so he is really upset that he doesn't get to be on YouTube. Okay, I think that was 15. We'll go 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So when you're done, you should have a chain of 20. Now, remember how when I was showing you how to single crochet, we did a loop before, and we called it our turning chain before we turned it around? Well, in double crochet, we're going to do 2 of them, okay? So we're going to add 1, 2 more, okay? So there's those 2 loops. And then you go into that third loop right there, okay? Don't count the one on your hook. There's 1, 2, and then you go into that third loop. And we are going to double crochet, all right? So here is the difference between double crochet and single crochet. Remember how I said that a crochet was pulling through 2 loops? A single crochet would look like this. You pull one up, you've got 2 loops on your hook, and then you pull another loop through those 2 loops, and that's a single, right? Well, a double is very, very similar. All you have to do is yarn over, and that just means put the yarn over your hook, okay? Go into that loop. You've got 2 loops on your hook right now. You pull up 1, and then you have 3 loops on your hook, okay? Pull a loop through 2. You've got 2 loops on your hook, and then pull a loop through those 2. And that is a double crochet because we pulled it through 2 loops twice, all right? Let's do it again. We're going into the very next one. Put the yarn over your hook. Go into that stitch, okay? You pull a loop up. Oops. You pull a loop up, okay? So now you have 3 loops on your hook. You pull 1 through one of them, okay? 2 loops, 1 through those last 2. There's a second single crochet, all right? We're gonna do another one, okay? Pull through 2, pull through 2. And this is a double crochet. Now you might notice that it looks like you have 4 stitches, right? That's because this turning chain, this is that turning chain, okay? So that's why, so some people use the turning chain and they consider it a stitch. I like to consider the very first completed stitch a stitch. So I'm going to put this, stitch marker into that very first stitch, and that way when I come back to it, I will know that this is the last stitch, not that, okay? Because I might get confused between this crochet stitch and this turning chain, and I want to make sure that I go through that crochet stitch, not the turning chain, because if I keep going through the turning chain, I'm going to increase every single time I go around. So that's why we use the stitch markers when we're just starting out. And we are on row 1. So again, I'm going to show you a few times, and then we'll start doing it at a normal pace for me, but you might take a while, okay? And that's fine. That's normal. If you're struggling, if this is your first time and you're struggling, good. You're normal. Okay. If you're not struggling, then you are a genius. What happened? So seriously, all it's going to take is practice, and you can do it, because if I can do it, I know you can do it. Okay. Sometimes it takes a little bit of patience too. But you will find that it is very rewarding once you get the hang of it, and then it's just muscle memory, just like when you were learning to type, that kind of stuff. Okay, so we're going to do another double crochet. I'm going to put a loop over the hook by yarning over, go through the very next loop on your chain, pull up a loop. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. Pull through 2, all right, and then you pull through 2 again. All right, so there we do. Look at all those beautiful double crochets that we have. All right, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. All right, and if you want to know which stitch was the last one, you're like, uh-oh, do I go through this one, or do I go through this one, or that one? What is it? All you have to do is pull your work a little bit, and you'll see that open up. If it's not already open by going into it, you pull like that, you can see that open one, and you know that you're going to go into that next one. Okay, yarn over, pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Pull through 2, pull through 2. All right. Okay, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, pull through 2, all right, and pull through 2. Okay, yarn over, pull up a loop, okay, pull through 2, pull through 2 again, and that is a double crochet. You are doing it. Okay, pull up a loop, you've got 3 loops, pull up another loop, you've got 2 loops, and pull up a loop. You have got a double crochet there. So you crocheted twice, you pulled through 2 loops twice. All right, that's why it's called a double. Now, that's an American, that's a US terminology, okay? Different people in different countries may have different terminologies, and you'll learn that eventually. But just know that this is U.S. terms, okay? So if you're in a country besides the United States, you can tell people that you learned how to crochet with U.S. terms. That way, when you get patterns, you will know to make sure it's written in U.S. terms, okay? And basically, there's U.S. and U.K. terms. Those are the only 2 that I've really seen. And it's easy to go between the 2 once you get it down, but I don't want to confuse you guys. This is what your work should be looking like if you've been doing this since you were 9 and you're in your 40s, okay? So if it doesn't look perfect like this, that's fine. That is okay. You're just learning, or you're relearning maybe, and you can get it this even. Eventually, we're going to practice here. Pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2 again. It is that simple. Okay, yarn over, pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Pull up a loop through 2, and then you pull through 2 again. That is a double crochet. All right. And when I turn, I'm going to go ahead and do it a little bit faster. I'm going to be doing it at the speed that I usually go at. Now, I can say that it can be a little bit challenging working into the chain when you're doing that first row, because you don't have a whole lot of work to hold on to with your non-dominant hand. So anybody's going to be a little bit slower on this first row, okay? So if you can do a double crochet on the first row, then it's going to be a breeze on the second, and by the 5th, you're going to be going so fast. And if you're not, that's okay. That means that you are learning something new. Stick with it, and it will be rewarding. And like I said in the other video, the dish rags, the dishes aren't going to care if your stitches are perfect or not, okay? They really aren't. pull through 2, pull through 2, and this is our last stitch. Yarn over, and you pull through 2, pull through 2 again, pull through 2 again. There we go. So here is our first stitch. This is our first row. Now you can see that mine kind of looks almost a little bit like a rainbow. It's not like perfectly like that. It's because when we make our chain rows, sometimes we make them a little bit smaller than the way that we make our stitches. So if that's happening to you, just chain with a size bigger hook. So if we're doing a J, then that means all you have to do is go up to a K, and then go back to a J when you're finished. So if you're using an I, then go up to a J to do your chains, and then go back to J. So remember, we are going to chain 2 before we turn, instead of chaining 1 like with the single crochet. All right. And that is just so that when we start out on this next row, the first stitch is going to be the same height. Okay. We're in the same height. Okay, so yarn over, go through that first stitch or the last stitch on your last row, pull through 2, or pull through, you've got 3 loops on your hook, pull through 2, and then pull through 2 again. Now, this was the very first stitch, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stitch marker and I'm going to put that in there. That way, every single time I come back to this row, I'll know that that's my last stitch, not this. And eventually you get to the point where you can tell them apart very, very easily. But while you're just beginning, using stitch markers to make certain that you are on the right path is gonna save you a lot of time. So you'll notice that there is hardly any counting involved in crochet as far as, you know, for what we've started so far. We have done the single crochet and the double crochet, and this is a double crochet right here, and you will find that this double crochet you don't have to count with it at all. You don't have to count with it. All you have to do is count that first chain. Sometimes you'll have patterns where the stitches require a certain amount or a certain multiple, like a multiple of 6, for example. So you chain a multiple of 6 depending on how large you want it. I was working on a blanket last night that required a multiple of 6, and my first chain was 180. So you'll find that, you know, you might need to do that, and that counting is it really is, you know, it's probably the only time you're gonna have to count unless you really get into mosaic crochet. Now I can mosaic crochet, and I'll do a tutorial here eventually. Okay, it's one of those things that people think is hard, but it really isn't. But right now we're focusing on this double crochet stitch so that you guys can get the basics down, and so that I'll have that on my channel, so anybody who wants to follow along on my tutorials, and I've got planned so many tutorials for you guys, anybody who wants to follow along will be able to do the most basic stitches just by looking here on my channel for the basic stitches. So hopefully you are getting the hang of this. Last time that I filmed, I thought it would be fun to do a whole square on camera, and my video ended up being like over an hour long. So I am going to do 2 more at least here, rows that is, and then I'm gonna let you guys finish your dish rag by yourselves, and I will come back and I will show you my finished dish rag in double crochet, and I will teach you how to tie off and use a yarn needle this time. Last time I tried to show you how to use a crochet hook, and it really wasn't working as well as it does for some kinds of yarn. In acrylic yarn, it's really easy to just use a crochet hook, but with this cotton's a little bit more stiff. So I think that was more of my problem than the method itself. Okay, so we've gotten to the very last stitch. I know because my stitch marker's around it. Okay, so I'm going to take out the stitch marker so it doesn't get in my way. I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop. I've got 3 loops on my hook. Pull through 2 and then pull through 2 again. Now I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to turn, and in that first stitch the last stitch that I just made there, okay, we're on row 3 here, I'm going to yarn over, go under that stitch, pull up okay, I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to go under that stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2 again. And this right here is my first stitch, and I will put my stitch marker there so I do not forget where that is and accidentally add a stitch at the end in that chain 2. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going here, yarn over, go under the stitch, pull up a loop, have 3 on your hook, go through 2, go through 2 again, yarn over, go underneath that stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2 again. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do it a little bit more fast. I'm going to leave you guys on your own to figure it out or crochet along with me. We are on the 3rd row. The chain, also called the foundation chain, that does not count as a row. That is just the foundation chain. Alrighty, so if you can tell, let me just go ahead and show you while you continue working. If you look at the height of that single crochet stitch, right? One single crochet is about half the size of one double crochet. So this one is not going to take as long as the other one. What our goal is to make a square piece of cloth. And then we will have another dish rag that we can put in our kitchen to wash dishes with. Or if you're making really, really nice stitches, you might want to put it in your bathroom. It's good for the face and all that kind of stuff too. I personally prefer to use these for dishcloths, and do not use these to take hot things out of the oven or to pick up a hot thing. Even though it will provide some protection, this fabric is too thin to protect your hands. We can do pot holders, or well, you can use this as a pot holder if you put it down and you put something on it. That'll be fine. But we can do hot pads and those kinds of things later. Okay, I mean, you can't take something out of the oven and expect for your hands to be protected with just cotton. You'd have to fold it over at least. But you can protect surfaces from heat, and you can also wash dishes with it with really hot water. It's not going to lose its integrity. Also, you can wash these with fabric softener to make the fabric a little less stiff, but cotton is going to be a stiff fabric. If you're using just regular cotton, it's going to be a stiff fabric most of the time. So, all right, so we're in that last stitch. So I'm gonna yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then pull through that last 2. Then I put 2 chains, and then I can turn my work and put this stitch marker right into that first. Well, I'm gonna in fact, I would have put it in the wrong stitch too if I hadn't done that. Okay, so we are going to go into that first stitch. Now we are going to put this through that first stitch that we just created. All right, we'll keep our even edges. All right, So this is the 4th row, and this is going to be the last row I'll do with you guys. After I do this row, I'm going to go off camera and complete it. I'm just going to keep crocheting up until I have a square, and then I will come back and show you how to weave in your ends using a yarn needle. You can also use your hook if you want to, or if you don't care about the way it looks, you can just clip it, you know, but weaving in the ends is something that I wasn't taught when I was first taught how to crochet, so I was really confused when people kept saying, why don't you weave in your ends? Because I was like, I don't know what that means. So now I know what it means, and I'm dedicated to making sure everybody who I teach how to crochet knows, so they won't be embarrassed for not knowing. My grandma taught me, and I don't know if she thought that I was going to actually complete the project that I started, which I didn't actually, so she knew me. But she did not teach me how to weave in the ends. She would have, I know. She wasn't a bad teacher. She was an awesome teacher. But that was something that ended up embarrassing me later on in life. So I don't know if you noticed, excuse me, still got a little bit of a hoarse throat there. But your yarn can either come from the middle of the ball, and that's the best way to pull it out, I think, because it's got less of a chance to get all tangled up. Or you can pull it from the outside. When you pull it through the outside, not only does it have a higher chance of getting tangled up, but it also, you have to do that motion, and that can be tiring to your muscles. So that's why I've been pulling it through the middle, and I always pull out a little bit so that I don't have to pull it out every single minute, basically, when I'm going really fast. So hey, I'm just gonna go over this again. I know it must sound like a broken record, but you yarn over, you go under the stitch, you pull up a loop, then you pull through 2, and then you pull through 2 again. You have got 1 stitch on your hook. Yarn over. Go underneath both of those loops, okay? Do you see that? I'm going under both of those loops in the next loop, the next stitch. Pull up. I've got 3 loops on my hook. Pull through 2. I've got 2 loops on my hook. Pull through 2 again, and we have a double crochet. And once you get going on this, you'll find that this is not only a fast stitch to do, but it also works up a lot more quickly than the single crochet. The single crochet is kind of like you need that single crochet so that you know what to do in between you're doing these double crochets, because a lot of patterns are comprised of double crochets only. Now I took that out, but I do want to point out that last stitch is right there, and I know it because I know what it looks like. I know that this is a turning chain stitch, and I know that this is that last stitch, so I just moved it because it was going to get in my way. So hopefully this has been a good tutorial for you and you have learned how to double crochet. If not, go ahead and just rewind to the beginning and keep practicing. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through this last stitch here. Okay, we have 4 rows completed if you were able to follow along with me. If you weren't, that's fine, don't worry about it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet some more stitches. It looks like I need about 6 more rows, maybe 4. I would say 5 or 6 more rows of these double crochets to get a square, and then I'll come back. So I'll be right back. You know, in real time, I'm actually going off and doing this, but as far as you're concerned, I'm going to be right back with my finished dish rag. All right, I am back here, and I ended up crocheting 9 rows. So I was right that it would just need 5, and I will show you how you can count your rows. Each row has this little kind of like a line through it, all right? And you'll notice that if you turn it over, regardless, it's reversible basically. Just like the single crochet that we made before, the single crochet is also reversible. Not all patterns are. But we're here at the very end I have not completed my 9th row, but this is about a square. It's good enough for me. And so I am going to complete this project, and I am going to show you how to use a darning needle this time to weave in your ends, okay? So we are going to make these last 3 stitches together. So I am yarning over, okay, going through underneath those 2 loops, pulling up a loop. Now I've got 3 loops on my hook. Pull through 2, pull through 2 again. Okay. Going under, pulling up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2 again, and this is the last stitch here. If I was using my stitch markers, I would have a stitch marker in that. Pull it up, we've got 3 loops, pull through 2, and then pull through 2 again, and we are done. So what I like to do when I am finished with something like a dishcloth is that I will just pull another loop through, and I forgot to get my my craft scissors, so I'm going to have to get those here, and I'm going to need some darning needles as well. I got this on Amazon and really like it. Oh, well, I keep forgetting that you are oriented the same way as I am. So yeah, so I think it's cute. My daughter has one too, and hers has got blue in the background instead of. But as you can see, I have some tape measure, some crochet hooks. These with the big handles, those are for people who have arthritic hands. These are some smaller ones. This is a gauge. But what I'm going to be wanting to get out are these needles. Now, I'm going to show you 2 different kinds since I have them in my pouch here. So you can either use this plastic needle, or you can use one of these fancy, I think these are steel needles, all right? Just because these look fancier, maybe better, or whatever, doesn't mean that this one can't do the job. So again, I pulled another loop through that very last stitch there. Now I'm going to take my scissors. I love these scissors. Nobody else touches them because they're shaped like a heron. So they know not to touch it. Don't cut paper with your craft scissors. And I'm just going to keep pulling that tight, and you'll see that it forms this little knot. Now if you don't care, you can just be done with it at this point, okay? But weaving in the ends is a part of this that is important to know. So I'm going to just cut to where I have maybe 2.5 to 3 inches left on that tail. So for those of you who are in centimeters, I think that's like, I think 10 to 15 centimeters, something like that. I might be grossly overcalculating, but you'll see these yarn needles, they've got these big eyes. It is very easy to put that yarn through it. In fact, I just jinxed myself because I told you it was easy, because I just did it, and now my ends are frayed. Yeah, it's pretty easy. If you have difficulty, you can bend it over, or you can just snip that so that it's not frayed, and then try it again, okay? And all you're going to do is you are going to take, you see these loops here? You're going to go under those loops, okay? You can do this with a crochet hook too, but I kind of embarrassed myself last time by not doing it very well. And you can just pull that yarn through with that needle. I guess I'm embarrassing myself this time too because I'm not doing it very well. But anyway, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to go underneath here. I'm going to go underneath a few of them here. Watch this. Now, who's embarrassed now, right? See, now you can still kind of see it, but it's not going to come out, right? You just get close, you snip it. Just don't snip your work. It's not going to matter. This is not going to come out, okay? Besides, you've got that knot at the end. If it does, you can always just take a hook or a needle, and you can do the same thing. I'm going to show you how to do this just with a with one of these fancy looking ones. Like I said, it's going to be the same either way. Okay, just pull it through. And this time I'm gonna go, since this one was the bottom chain, I'm gonna just go ahead and go in and out of this bottom loop here. My cat's back in here. He's done with timeout, and he's ready to knock something over. Just warning you guys in case he does. Okay. So it's as easy as that. You can also go up the sides if you want. There's a lot of places that you can hide it. But here we have another dishcloth. Okay, and I am going to go ahead and take I'm going to arrange everything and take a nice picture so that I can put that in the description. So you will see this really nice picture at the very beginning, and I'll put in these stitch markers too. I'll keep one closed and one of them open, and it's gonna, see, I told you it was gonna knock something over. So I'm gonna make it all nice and pull it so it's perfect and everything, and this will be the first image you see before you click on this video to watch it. How about that? All right, guys, take care. I will do a half double crochet video tomorrow, and I have a lot of content planned for you guys. So seriously, go ahead and subscribe, like this video if you learned something, or if you just enjoyed sitting here with me. And I will see you tomorrow with another dishcloth tutorial.